Good evening, and welcome to the meeting of the Mayor and Board of Trustees for the Village of Burr Ridge. Today is Monday, December 12th, 2022. I'm calling this meeting to order, and could I ask Trustee Smith to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, yes, please? All stand.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Trustee Smith. Clerk Schaus, would you please take the roll?
Sure. Mayor Pro Tem Francis.
Here.
Trustee Schiappa.
Here.
Trustee Paveza. Here. Trustee Snyder. Here. Trustee Mattal.
Here.
Trustee Smith.
Here.
Mayor Grasso's not in attendance.
My name is Trustee Guy Francis. I'm filling in for Mayor Grasso while he is away, and as I am Mayor Pro Tem, that is my responsibility. Tonight we have presentations and public hearings. We'd like to make a presentation of special events community partnerships. Mr. Walter.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. As is becoming an annual tradition, we'd like to take time at the last meeting of the year to talk about some of the partnerships that we've established through our special events and our outreach that we've established here at Village Hall. We've developed, through the fine work of my staff and administration department, some really great partnerships with some nonprofit charitable partners within our community. And we want to take tonight to really take a few minutes to work with Trustee Maital, who's been very influential on our events, sponsorships and the like, to recognize them and bring more attention to the work they do. They do a lot of great work in our community for a lot of great and worthy causes. So I want to just give them a minute tonight to talk about who they are and just memorialize the partnerships that we've established tonight. The first one is Mark Langen. He is the Chief Development Officer for the Ray Graham Association Center, Hansen Center. They're an organization located in our community. I'm going to give everybody a few minutes or a few seconds just to speak up what they do, and then we'll have a photo. But thank you, Dave. Appreciate it. Opening up the podium here. If you could just make sure the mic is on, too, that'd be great. Thank you.
This is pretty good. Thanks. Again, as Evan said, my name is Mark Langen. I'm the Chief Development and Operations Officer for Ray Graham Association. We empower people with disabilities to reach, grow, and achieve. We have been at the Hansen Center for over 70 years, and we're really enjoying the partnership. I want to do a special shout out to Mr. Pressig and his team. As you may or may not know, I'm sure you all know, we've put about $500,000 into the Ray Graham Center to improve drainage. And we couldn't have done that without the partnership of Jim Durkin, who helped us acquire about 3/4 of that funding, and your team. They've just been dynamite to deal with, really great common sense approach to problem solving, been very supportive, have helped us significantly, helped us get the word out to the community and the neighbors, and we're just really excited about that. You know, I was in village government where I live in LaGrange, so I know that you want to know how good your staff is and what a great team you have. So I thank you for that. And again, we really enjoy the partnership and being a part of Burr Ridge.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Photo now? Yeah. You want to do it? Yeah. Oh. You want to be right down in the center? That'd be great. All right. Thank you again to the Ray Graham Association. Their partnership with the Run the Ridge has been very successful. Moving on to our next one, we have the Burr Ridge Community Parks Foundation, and Barb Dorman is here. They are our Taste of Burr Ridge charitable partner. So the original idea for Taste of Burr Ridge is about 3 years old from the village's perspective, but Taste of Burr Ridge from a fundraising perspective significantly predates that idea. And who best to partner with on that idea than the originators of the idea here in town. So one of our largest events now benefits the Parks Foundation. So I'd like to ask Barb Dorman to come up and say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you all. Yes, as Evan said, this is the second year we've worked with the event in the fall and enjoyed it very much. It's become bigger and bigger and has been a lot of fun for us and a great opportunity to work with you guys. As you probably know, the Park District Foundation supports the Park District, and so we provide funds for special projects that couldn't be done. The Park District is very anxious not to raise the tax level, which is low, and so we provide some gap money to finish projects or do additional projects that couldn't be done without some additional fundraising. So we're very happy to do that for the community, and thank you so much for letting us be a partner in your events. We've enjoyed it and look forward to doing it again next year. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Stay for the picture. Oh, you're camera shy.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Count my steps here.
Yep.
Our third partner is the Illinois Spina Bifida Association. I see Matt Larson here tonight, who I had the opportunity to meet. I also see a couple of other development partners in the community. The Spina Bifida Association is our partner at the car show, which is on the same day as the Taste, but is actually a separate event. We've been able to identify some really great partnerships, not only with the Spina Bifida Association, but also with Windy City Corvettes, who do a great job of partnering with us to actually identify car show participants. It's a very important part of car shows to have cars there, so their support is much appreciated for that. So, Matt, if you would, that'd be, if you'd like to say a few words, that'd be great. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Matt Larson. I'm the Executive Director of the Illinois Spina Bifida Association. We serve more than 900 children, adults, and families throughout the state of Illinois living with spina bifida. We're grateful for our wonderful friends and partners, the Windy City Corvettes, and for the Village of Burr Ridge. Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity and partnership. I want to just real quick introduce my a great young lady, Veronica Burden, who is a person we serve, and she's making her way.
Hi, I'm Ronnie, and I have spina bifida.
And Ronnie was just telling me about our college plans, and so we really appreciate all that you can do to help us support young people like Ronnie and others throughout the state and in this area as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Larry Pagliaro, president of Windy City Corvettes. I'm here tonight with members of our club. We have 150 members in total. There's only 3 of us here. Teresa Casanda is the head of our charity committee, or community service as we call it. Rich Kroll. Rich headed up the car show. He managed all the parking and all the logistics and all of our members. And Bill Casanda is co-hosted with Rich. We're just honored that this is the second year that we have been invited to work on the car show with the Taste of Burr Ridge. And our long relationship with Corvette Mike Midwest, and they partnered with us. So we're honored to have you invite us to help with that show. We have a blast doing it. And I also want to thank you. 32 years we have supported Illinois Spina Bifida. It has been our main charity and well-deserving. And we're so honored that you came in and partner with us on that support. So thank you very much for your help. We have one other item. Mayor Grasso was at the Taste of Burr Ridge, did an excellent job of handing out trophies, and we have a little token of appreciation. So Mayor Pro Temp, if we could present
Sure.
a plaque.
I'll be happy to pass it along to him.
Pass it on to
Yes.
Mayor Grasso, we'd appreciate it. And thank you again for all your support.
And then our final charitable partner is the Hinsdale Humane Society. While yes, it does have the name Hinsdale in it, they are a major part of our community. The police department works with them routinely on issues of stray animals or animals that can't currently locate their owner if they're tagged. So we really appreciate the partnership that we have with them. Kathleen Hanley is here tonight. Understand it is also their holiday party night, so we're going to let them boogie out of here in a minute. But Kathy, please take it away.
Thank you. My name is Kathy Hanley. I am new, relatively, Hinsdale Humane Society. I'm the development director. I was there when we opened the building over at Robert Crown back in 2018. I'm sure most of you have been there one way or another for some health education. But especially wanted to thank Burr Ridge and all of our partners in the community. We have been through a rough time. We sent out a Save Our Shelter request. You've probably seen the advertising for it. We really hit a low with the pandemic and animals being returned, and what we were finding is once everybody started going back to work after the pandemic, they were bringing some of their animals back, or they couldn't afford to take care of their animals. So we started up several outreach programs. So we're going out into the communities and doing low-cost spay and neuter, low-cost vaccines, medical treatment, things like that. So our outreach programs like that, and we also have one for veterans and some other humane education ones and things going on, but those require funding. And so we bit off more than we could chew. So we found ourselves earlier this year in a situation where we needed some financial help, and the community has really rallied together, and Burr Ridge has been fantastic and helping us through that and working with us. As they said, one of our partners, we serve 12 communities, and Burr Ridge by far has been very generous, and we greatly appreciate all your support. So thank you.
Thank you. Just a quick note to thank all of these wonderful organizations and charities that provide so many valuable services to the residents in Burr Ridge and the surrounding areas. The Ray Graham and Associates, Burr Ridge Park District, Illinois Spina Bifida Association, Windy City Corvettes, Hinsdale Humane Society, and certainly, last but not least, our staff, including Hannah, Claire, and of course, Trustee Mittal for organizing all of these special events. It's a great partnership that we were enabled to embark on. And we're so grateful and thankful that we have so many great volunteers in this community that help support and make our community better for everybody involved. Thank you all. Appreciate all of your hard work. Thank you. Okay, we have some business to attend to. You're welcome to stay, or you may leave if you'd like. It's up to you.
All right.
Thank you.
What's that?
He used to be with American Funds.
Thank you.
Well, you may have been, but he's with UBS. Yeah.
Okay, agenda item 4, consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk are considered routine by the board and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member or citizen requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda, discussed, open for public comment, and voted upon during the meeting. 5 minutes. A, approval of the regular board meeting of November 14th, 2022. B, receive and file Plan Commission meeting of November 21, 2022. C, receive and file Plan Commission meeting of December 5th, 2022. And D, receive and file Stormwater Management Committee meeting of November 22nd, 2022. 6, ordinances. A, approval of an ordinance amending the signed ordinance, section 55.09, pertaining to right-of-way signs, Z13, 2022, S01, 2022, text amendment sign ordinance. B, approval of an ordinance amending section 4K2E of the zoning ordinance to amend the definition of a commercial vehicles, Z12, 2022, text amendment, commercial vehicles. 7, resolutions. A, approval of a resolution regarding construction on state highways. 8, considerations. A, receive and file notice of withdrawal of zoning petition Z25, 2022, 1173 187th Street, McNaughton Development. B, approval of an award of contract for Parkway tree trimming to Winkler in the amount of $55,000. C, approval to create the position of Special Projects Manager in the Administration Department. Someone wanted that removed, I heard earlier?
Yes.
Remove 8C?
Yes, please.
Thank you. D, approval of appointment of Commissioner Richard Morton to serve as Plant Commission Vice Chairperson for a term expiring on December 31st, 2023. E, approval of vendor list dated November 28, 2022 in the amount of $464,731.19 for all funds, plus $212,862.21 for payroll period ending November 12, 2022, for a grand total of $677,593.40, which includes, excuse me, no special expenditures. F, approval of vendor list dated December 12, 2022 in the amount of $346,504.18 for all funds, plus $211,197.69 for payroll period ending November 26, 2022, for a grand total of $557,701.87, which includes no special expenditures. Could I have a motion, please, for 5A, B, C, and D, 6A, B?
Trustee.
Can I request to remove 6A and reopen the
6A?
Correct.
Yes, ma'am. I'll start again. Could I have a motion, please, to, I'll start over. Could I have a motion, please, for the passage of items 5A, B, C, and D, 6B, 7A, 8A, B, D, E, and F?
Second.
Roll call, please.
I'm sorry, who made the first? Okay, thank you. Trustee Snyder?
Yes.
Trustee Matal?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Skiappa?
Yes.
Trustee Paveza?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Francis?
Yes. Thank you. Okay, item 6A, ordinances, approval of an ordinance amending sign ordinance, section 55.09 pertaining to right-of-way signs, Z13, 2022, S01, 2022, text amendment sign ordinances. Ma'am, would you like to come to the podium and speak? Introduce yourself, please.
Hi, Crystal Johnson Downs, 8425 Wallerden. A few weeks ago,
Say your name.
oh,
a little
sure.
slower.
Do you want me to spell it?
Yeah,
It's spelled
please.
interesting. It's Krystle. Last name is Johnson Downs. 2 words, no hyphen.
Thank you.
Of course. A few weeks ago, I emailed all of the trustees regarding this matter. Those of you that responded, I thank you. While some of you may regard these signs as a nuisance, I ask that you remember that good has come from the placement of these signs, such as community involvement behind the Sterigenics and ETO movement, the resurgence of the Burr Ridge Little League during the pandemic, the passage of school referendums, and the residents who host successful sales at their homes for garage, estate sales, real estate transactions. In response to comments made during the last meeting, the foot traffic at these events does not all transpire online. In fact, a recent home sale at 91st Street, just closed in the past 15 days, had multiple notes that many online maps have the wrong address. Without the use of directional signage, the homeowners may not have sold quickly. Oftentimes, people stop at garage sales, estate sales, or open houses because they are visiting family that are longtime residents or patronizing local businesses for lunch or shopping and enjoy the area so much they continue their time here. This village is comprised of good people, and I don't believe that members of this town want to knowingly disobey codes. If you approve the code as rewritten in Exhibit A, please do not apologize to the realtors
the impact will be on the members of Burr Ridge. Therefore, I am requesting that the verbiage be added to the most recent draft of Exhibit A 5509, temporary signs, letter E, to protect the interests of the residents, organizations, and businesses of Burr Ridge. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any discussion or comments?
Second, and then you can talk.
Okay. So let's have a motion first for approval of this, and then a second, and then we'll be able to discuss it.
We need,
We need a motion to approve and a second.
in order to discuss it?
Yes. So
It
you
doesn't-
can always vote no if
Okay.
that's your desire.
Right.
So,
Second.
Okay. Now let's open for discussion.
Yes.
Okay. Any comments from the board members? Trustee Scappa.
Well, this ordinance is not banning all signs. It's just the signage on the right-of-way, correct?
correct. Except for governmental.
Governmental
Posters.
in the right-of-way. So signs can be placed on private property.
Yes, they can.
So it's our understanding also we cannot limit the content of those signs as well. We can't restrict the signs to, we can't allow real estate signs but prohibit political signs.
Correct. You're not allowed to regulate the content, just size, location, manner of posting, the timing of them, but not the content. So you can't make exceptions for one message and ban other messages.
Trustee Mattal?
I feel that the purpose of the signs is awareness for the community members. You know, it's an advertisement for something, or you know, it's generally for the residents. So we should take their input and also make sure that, you know, we don't create a lot of nuisance value as well. So what, I forget your name. Crystal said, I mean, that does make sense, that it is important, but how do we, they can still put signs which are not on the right of way, right?
Correct.
Yes, they can
So-
post signs on public property, just not on the right-of-way, which is, you can post on private property, not on public property. We cannot regulate the contents of the signs on our public property, and the right-of-way is the mechanism in which this ordinance is addressed.
Trustee Smith?
Question, so I have my garage sale and I put my signs out on public property. What's the worst that can happen to me?
As the ordinance is written here, the signs would be removed, and if you attempted to retrieve the sign, it'd be subject to a $75 fine to retrieve the sign. If you do not retrieve the sign within 3 weeks, the sign would be discarded. Now, I will just tell you that in staff's experience, and I think Ms. Johnson could elaborate, not all signs are really appropriate to be thrown away. Some of them are metal, wood, they're not plastic throwaway signs, and there have been some examples of that occurring in the past of more substantial signs being left out to be picked up. So just making a clarification about that.
But the substantial signs, those are the minority.
I would definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
1 out of 10.
1 out of 10? Thank you. Any other comments? Trustee Scappa?
And so we had the plan commission review this, and then we reviewed it and discussed it because of an ongoing problem with signs in our village. Is that correct, or why
So,
did this come up for
yeah,
discussion?
so the genesis of discussion was the current sign ordinance has some language in it which is very challenging to comply with. There are rules in the current sign ordinance which state that signs may be permitted on rights-of-way on weekends between 9 and 6, but they have to have a sticker on them with your name and who's responsible for the sign. You have to have written permission from the property owner adjacent. So as I've used the example before, if you live at 1 Main Street on a private residence, private lot, and someone would like to place a sign in front of 1 Main Street on the public right-of-way, they need to obtain written approval from you, the property owner at 1 Main Street, to actually place that sign. And that's something that we've never seen at the village level. I don't know that that permission's been given unless we are able to get the letter ahead of time. There's a number of other things beyond that even, which you would have to comply with to legally place a sign for a short period of time. So the short answer is yes, we have a permission to allow signs right now, but staff has never encountered an example of something which was truly compliant to every element of the sign ordinance. And so because of that, you have a de facto ban on signs in the right-of-way now, in that if you had 1,000 examples in the last 5 years, not one complied by technical definition.
Okay.
So it became an issue of staff communicating to persons who sought to seek signs or sought to understand how they could seek to place signs. It became really an educational issue of them not understanding or not being willing or unable to comply with all of our sign regulations. And so if we were eventually left with the situation of picking up many, many signs every single year, and it's not just election season, it's all throughout the year we see them, of signs simply not complying with the current regulations of the sign ordinance. So it was I think the attempt of the Plan Commission staff was to clean up these regulations. And I think the predominant thinking was that because there was such severe restrictions on the sign ordinance right now, it maybe should be clarified to just say, we have what effectively is a ban or extremely hard rules to comply with. And I think the easy or the consolidated consensus of the board last time we spoke about this was a right-of-way ban would be the simplest way to mirror what we had already had on the books in effect. Again, clarifying that we did have the opportunity to have signs, but staff had not encountered any examples of anyone actually clearing that bar.
So there's multiple issues here.
Correct.
Issues of property, signs being placed in front of property owners that don't have permission. Signs that being left out 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, abandoned signs after an election, after a garage sale, after an estate sale. Signs that exceed the quantity and size.
Definitely.
And tell us about the staff efforts to round up these signs.
I would call them ongoing, perpetual, and significant. There are 75 lane miles of road in the village. We usually can only hit maybe the main roads on a regular basis. Our police is tasked with other issues. Our CSO is, when available, assisting us with code enforcement, with assisting our uniformed officers with responses. Our administrative staff is very lean. There are just simply not enough people to, A, explain every rule, and then B, pick up every sign. So I think some of the theory was that there needed to be a clearer message about what was actually permitted, because sometimes on the phone, in an attempt to be honest, the answer is yes with many conditions. Sometimes we only got to yes, and we have found many instances where there were times where, good faith or not, the sign was placed after consultation with the staff. Not trying to say anyone intentionally broke rules, certainly not, but maintenance of signs and rights of way is a significant tax on our time.
There are questions or comments? Trustee Snyder?
Planning Commission sent to us their thoughts. We spent, what, an hour and a half on this last time? Hour? We sent it back to staff saying, okay, best we can, let's do it the right way. And now we're being asked to make another change.
Well, it's just a resident that's asking for a change, correct? Okay. Yep. How many Plan Commission meetings were there talking about signs?
I'm going to have Ms. Farrell come up and
Ms. Farrell come up and explain? Okay.
Just checking my notes here. There were 3 public hearings. The agenda item was continued twice in June and July without discussion. But so there were 3 meetings at the Plan Commission where there was discussion.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. You know, I have a friend who lives down the street from the Village Hall here. He's a Stop Stereogenics supporter, and he still has his sign out in his front yard. And it's still there. but it's not in the public right-of-way, it's in his front yard, on his property, and we permit that, we allow that. So we'll still allow stop stereogenic signs, we'll still allow real estate signs, we'll still allow Little League signs, baseball signs, all kinds of signs, just not in the public right-of-way. Because when they're in the public right-of-way, then they're a problem for us to maintain and police, because we were allowing them on Saturdays and Sundays between the hours of 9 and 6 p.m. And then they were, more often than not, the majority of the time, they were left and abandoned, and the staff had to clean them up, and we had to expend man-hours to do that. So I appreciate your concerns about garage sales and estate sales, but some of those people left those signs out as well, and we had to clean those up as well. I'm sorry a few bad apples had to ruin it for the good people out there that want to have these signs and take care of them properly, but there seems to be some support to change the ordinance, to clean up the signs in the public right-of-way, because in my personal opinion, sometimes they look trashy when they're out there for 3 months or 2 months, and they've been beaten up with the snow and the rain and whatnot. So, any other further comments or questions? We have a motion on the floor and a second. Any questions on the motion? Discussion on the motion? No? Roll call, please.
Trustee Pavesa?
Yes.
Trustee Skiappa?
Yes.
Trustee Snyder?
Yes.
Trustee Matal?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Francis?
Yes.
6-0.
Thank you. Motion passes. 8C, considerations. Approval to create a position of Special Projects Manager in the Administration Department. Evan? I'm sorry.
Do we need a motion? Sorry. Just want to do this right away.
Was removed by Trustee Smith, correct?
Correct.
And you would like a motion and a second on this before we discuss it?
If Evan has some explanation.
Well, I'd like
do
to-
that.
I just
It's
don't wanna-
before the trustees start speaking, so.
I just don't know what, yeah, I want to.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Francis. So I do have some concerns about adding headcount during the budget year. We've had a lot of dialogue with headcount, with expenses, and knowing that we have a new budget coming around the corner, it makes me uneasy having this potential expense sitting out here when we don't know what the headcount will be expected from administration in 4 months when the actual budget comes out. We have, and when I read the items that are being asked for this specialist project manager, you know, I read many current projects which are currently handled or scheduled to be handled by the village administrator would be transferred to this position upon creation. As we know, as village trustees, we just did a pretty large compensation change 3 months ago based on current activities and current responsibilities. So I just think that this is a topic that probably needs to be handled at the plan session for budgeting, not now without knowing a lot of details as far as expenses and what are the other potential headcount requirements being asked of us next year. So that is why I have a concern here.
Thank you.
Sure. I think the best way to describe this position is simply the administration department is small. We have a significant amount of responsibilities, both internally and externally. We handle proposals, services, programmings for the rest of the village, 3 departments. We handle a number of external issues, events, communications, human resources, risk management, communications. The Oak Leaf, all the special events we heard tonight are handled by essentially a 3-person staff. I am in a unique position in that I have to oversee 65 employees and 11,000 people who I ultimately report to as the residents. The main issue, though, is that we have so many things going on right now. We have multiple employees within my department. I am in administration, just for the record. We have multiple employees who are working well over 40 hours a week and are not eligible for any overtime compensation due to their FLSA status, which is Fair Labor Standards Act. Because they are involved in confidential issues, they're at a salary level, which puts them over the FLSA limit, which is only $35,000, by the way. It's not a significant number. These people are working Saturdays, Sundays, nights, routinely. And when they come to me and say, I can't go at this level anymore, This is the response that I want to give the board, which is to continue on a sustainable path for service delivery, both internally and externally. 4 full-time employees is just not enough employees to continue doing it any longer. The reason for the timing is because our department handles special events. Those planning discussions need to happen now. If we're going to have people who change jobs, which would ultimately happen if this were to go through, we can't have those things taking place in March or April because it would be effectively too late at that point. Run the Ridge is scheduled for the first week of May. Veterans Day, Armed Forces Day is scheduled for the third week of May. We have 12 concerts on tap, 3 special features, car show, Taste of Burr. Those are at the end of the summer, but we are actively seeking to add new events and new partnerships to our calendar at all times. We had a lot of success with that tonight, and we want to continue to see those going forward per results of the board direction as well as the community survey, which we just reviewed. So simply, we have too much going on. The things that we could delete, I feel, are things that would be detrimental to the community in terms of reducing number of events, reducing communications to the village. I just don't think those are things that I'm ready to recommend be areas that we skimp on or go cheap on. And so I'm recommending that we create this position to help continue the service delivery that the residents and the organization has expected. Thank you.
Questions, comments? Trustee Mattal.
I just have a comment. I've had the privilege of working with Evan and Hannah and Claire, and I have to say they're a very good team with lots of great ideas. And I think right now they're very stretched to take it to the next level. I mean, in the last 2 years after COVID, they've done a really nice job of doing the car show and Taste of Burr Ridge, and the concerts are back. It's more like a well-oiled machinery, but to take it to the next step, we need one person who can build new ideas. So right now, Hannah really put 2 years into building these to a point where they're on autopilot, not on autopilot, but they're pretty well thought of, and they can be run by someone other than Hannah. But Hannah can use her talents in other ways, like interacting with the community, interacting with the homeowners association, things like the survey, getting feedback from the community so that we're actually servicing our residents. So, and I think what Evan had said somewhere is that the revenue or whatever is needed will come out of different sources, so it will not affect just one department. And I don't think I worded it correctly, but
I don't think I answered that question fully enough, but revenues are up across the funds in which this position would be located in. I don't have a concern about money on this affecting core services, I should say. We always have concerns about money and where it goes and how it affects things. But if I felt like there was an indication that we would be unable to provide roads or core services due to the addition of this employee, I wouldn't be making it. Or we would simply, we would wait till later in the budget if there was a serious concern about this, where I felt like we would be impinging on other services. So that's why I feel confident in making the request now, in that our financial state is good, it is strong, and it is diverse. And I feel like this position would provide a significant relief package to some of the staff who's put in a lot of hours this year and really take us to the next level. So thank you.
Just I have more clarification on it, because we haven't talked about adding more services. So what we're suggesting is that we're maintaining what we've done in the past, and we're now going to just add yet another headcount, and that's where I have a concern. We hired Claire to help out in all this. I mean, this has been your plan, your employee plan, which this board has been very, I would say, agreeable to your plan.
Agreed.
And when I just see that we are adding yet another headcount in mid-year, I don't know if our residents like that open checkbook. I think we need to have better discussions. Again, there is no cost here. I don't know what that costs. Maybe someone else does, but what's the cost to the village?
About
something.
About $80,000.
$80,000.
Trustee Snyder.
Evan, you and your staff have done a tremendous job. We assigned you that task. You made that operation the sidewalk better than it's ever been. Your staff went to you as a captain of the ship. You changed direction. You awesome people. engage some better people and so on. So you ask for one individual to go and assist your staff, I'm all in.
Other comments or questions? Trustee Schiappa.
So, just to talk head count, you have 4 full-time employees?
Correct.
Does that include you?
Correct.
How many part-time?
3.
3.
2 of them share a position, though.
Right. And one is and the other part-time is in marketing?
Yeah, assist with events and marketing, yes.
Okay. So essentially you've got 5.5 people running the village.
I would say I have 5.5 people running all the central services for the village, yes.
Essential services, okay. And what, before, I mean, we were at probably about double that.
I think our high water mark was 11.
11.
Some of those were due to them being just other departmented, like the community development was in administration, but we had significantly more people at one time, yes.
Yeah. Okay. And I still think it's a lean operation, and if they're coming to you, looking for help, I think we have a good crew, and I don't want to lose an institutionalized crew due to overworking and not making a good decision. And I don't consider it an open checkbook. That's why we're here, to help make that decision for the residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments, Al?
The only comment that I would have is, the main comment is, how much is this gonna cost totally? That would be about the only thing I'm looking for. I know we have a lean operation, but you can only go so far for a small village before we're over our budget.
No, and again, I can guarantee that this will not affect capital, police, public works, and the like. This is there to support them. We have a number of projects that we want to start on to make the village better, things that we haven't gotten to that we need to get to make the village stronger, better, more efficient, et cetera. Things like the oak leaf, things like, the budget award documents. A lot of those do come through a lot of the work my staff does on the design side. And I think therefore the better, to your point. But again, if I felt like there was a significant issue with the finances where those things would be affected, this would not be before you. I can guarantee that this will not affect your budget discussions in any significant manner in the next few months. But I appreciate the comment and note the concern.
Thank you. I have a couple of comments. So I have a great concern when our chief operating officer, Mr. Walter, comes to us and tells us that his employees are working Saturdays, Sundays, and nights, and they're overworked, and they can't take much more. I have a great concern about that. We don't want to burn these people out. We have a great staff. We're talented staff with wonderful attributes that are dedicated to the residents, and we certainly don't want to overwork them and burn them out. Yes, we are lean and mean, maybe we have cut too far in the past, and now's the time to add. We can't add on any more additional services. Staff can't take on any more work with the soldiers on board that they have now on deck, because it would mean more hours at night and more hours on the weekend, and they don't want that. So I support this. We are discussing it. We are talking about the salary, the cost, the impact on the budget, and we can get it into the budget workshops when we take those on in January. So I would ask that we have a motion to approve the creation of a position for special project manager.
So moved.
Any discussion on the motion? Further discussion?
I just wanted to add one thing, nothing on the motion, but it takes a lot of work in the past. I mean, ever since COVID, Hannah and the staff, they've brought about the website, the new and improved website, which is phenomenal. Oak Leaf, things like Taste of Burr Ridge, and having it together with the car show takes a lot of planning, and it was executed very well. So a person who is devoted to special events would really take the village to the next level.
Thank you. And we have lost people because they've been overworked, correct?
Definitely.
Definitely lost people.
In the past, yeah,
Good people.
absolutely.
Okay. Other discussions on the motion?
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Skiappa?
Yes.
Trustee Snyder?
Yes.
Trustee Matal?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Pavesa?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Francis?
Yes.
6-0.
6-0, motion passes. Thank you. Good discussion, by the way.
Yep.
Thank you for bringing it up. Okay, that moves us on to public comment. Is there anybody in the public that would like to make a comment before the board on these topics or any other topics that they'd like to address? Yes, ma'am.
Crystal Johnson Dallas, do my address again?
No.
Okay, all right. I'm just gonna bring this up because it's come up a few times in your discussion. Thankfully, the new website is making it much easier for people to find things. But with the Oak Leaf, Evan, do you know what the current subscription rate is among the population in Burr Ridge?
So I can tell you we have almost 4,000 recipients of the Oak Leaf.
Okay.
There are about 4,500 households in town, but I can guarantee that some of those recipients obviously are out of town. I
Okay.
can't guarantee that all 100% of those go to residents, per se.
All right, and of the ones you send out, do you know what the open rate is of those e-campaigns?
70%.
70%, okay.
Click-through rate is about 15%.
Clearly, I don't agree with the motion that was passed in 6A, but one of the points that was brought up is these signs were left out for an extended amount of time,
Yes.
right? And my question is perhaps moving forward, can we use the Oak Leaf and our Facebook page and these social media channels as a way to educate our public more effectively regarding the codes that we seek to change prior to actually enacting them? So know the code. If you want to see the change, educate the people on it beforehand.
I think that's a good example. So one of the elements of the Oak Leaf that, if you're a reader, you'll note there's a calendar in there talking about where all the public meetings are. It's near the top. That's actually one of the things that we've talked about is how do we have kind of actions of the week from all the committees, if you will. So water, stormwater, not everything happens in this room. Actually, a lot of decisions are made at those committee levels, which so many of our trustees serve on. So that's a great example of something that we're actually looking at that we want to do, because we do think at the staff level that helps carry the directives of the board to be more communicative and transparent to the community further, which is how do we make people more aware? Because currently, as a text amendment, we don't actually send that to anybody in letter form. If it had an address, we would send that to you. If your neighbor wanted to get a variance, we would send you a letter. But a text amendment actually does not have that component to it. It just has the public notice. So those are things we're actually looking at right now. How do we use Nixle more effectively on civil matters, things that are not police related? Right now we use it for emergency use. But that's a great example of things that we want to look at to make the community more informed. Because, again, public input is really the bedrock of a lot of what we do here. So appreciate the example and something we're working on already.
I really think if we make a point moving forward to educate, communicate, and then enforce, it would be to the benefit of this community.
So we'll bring up an example. Prior to the municipal elections, we do educate all the candidates that are running for municipal elections. We also post it on our website, the sign regulations. So at that point, we do, and some of the candidates are the biggest offenders. So they are educated, but they still appear in the wrong place at the wrong time. However, we would struggle to educate the painting contractors and the junk removal contractors and the college movers and such, and the businesses that aren't in the village but still place signs in our public right-of-ways.
Right, and I think that's what it is, and that was my point that I was trying to get across before, is I was trying to find a protection for the people, the organizations, and the businesses that originate in Burr Ridge, and not the Bensonville Roofing Company or the DuPage Forest Commissioner. I was looking for a protection for the people, and I think that, again, moving forward, if that can really be a goal and a mission, is to educate, communicate, and then enact something that it would be to the benefit. That's all.
We have park districts put signs out, and they know the sign regulations, and they're still put in the wrong spot. So for the little leagues and the soccer camps and such.
But I mean, I've noticed in the Oak Leaf, they've put in watering restrictions in the summer, and more recently, there was mailbox signage regulations.
Right.
So it really is a good platform, and if you're getting a 70% readership rate off of that, then possibly in the new addition to your administration, you can figure out a way to boost the subscription rate to that Oak Leaf to make your communication even more effective.
Appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Great.
Good
Thank
point.
you.
We accept your challenge to come on board as a voluntary position and educate.
No. We're
Thank you.
Pay you 80. Contract for 20 years tomorrow.
Joe will just hire you.
Thank you for your comments. Any other comments or questions? Okay, moving on to reports and communications from village officials. India, do you have anything to add on special events?
I just want to thank staff, Evan, Hannah, Clareness for doing such a wonderful year, along with all the staff, Public Works, Police Department. This was a very nice year and great events, and we look forward to another such year next year, and I wish everyone happy holidays on that.
Any other board members? So it's my understanding that Springfield recently passed some amendments, changes, tweaks, if you will, to the Safety Act. Would you care to summarize those, Evan, and maybe possibly the chief, for our residents to eliminate any possible confusion?
Yes, so I believe as the board will recall, we just had our resolution passed the first week in November, second week in November, I apologize, requesting changes to the Safety Act. Certainly there were some things which were supportable, but there were other things which were not acceptable. Some of those things were remedied, and not all of them were though, and I think Chief and I are going to do a quick discussion of those. A couple of the things that were changed are some of the pretrial detention eligibilities were widened. More things are able to be detained at this point. It also widens the reasons to give people non-pretrial release, basically hold them before they go to trial instead of releasing them into the public. It also broadened the definition of willful flight. One of the items that was discussed was really what happens if you are seen to be avoiding prosecution in terms of not showing up to court. It broadens that definition. It also provides the state with time deadlines to prove that offenders currently held on cash bail would otherwise have to be released on January 1st. That's that purge element that has been mentioned. It now gives them time to actually go through the court and make a recommendation that those offenders or alleged offenders be held in prison. So there is an opportunity for the state to hold that at that point. But I think another thing that is important to talk about is trespass, just because that's such an important day-to-day point that officers deal with. I want to have Chief talk about that, but I think that was slightly amended in our favor. So Chief.
Thank you. Good evening. So the amendment to the Safety Act is about 309 pages. So we're still trying to get through it. It's only been a week. But, you know, there were changes that we are very happy. When I say we, the Illinois chiefs, who worked hard with the legislative team with representatives in Springfield, the sponsors of the act. So there's still a lot of work to be done. That's a good summary by Mr. Walter. One of the biggest concerns, and Mayor Grasso also discussed this, was the changes. There is an amendment to the Class B and C misdemeanors. So the good news is, where before we could not take an individual in custody if they violate a Class B or C misdemeanor, that has been amended, and a good example is trespassing. That has been amended to, after the officer cites the individual for the violation, if the criminal activity persists, we can take them into custody. That's after a citation is issued. So this is something that our officers in Burr Ridge deal with quite a bit. The retail stores in town, the restaurants in town, and private residences and businesses. So that's good news for us, because we deal with this a lot. There's been many more changes. Body-worn camera act, there were some positive changes, but you know, again, there's still a lot of work to be done. There's still a lot of work to be done. We're going to continue. The Illinois Chiefs will continue. if you have any questions, I know Mr. Walter stole some of my thunder there, but it was a great summary, though. Sorry. To answer any questions for you. I know the Class B and C misdemeanors were a concern for everybody. In my opinion, there are a lot of good things in the Safety Act. There were a lot of good changes, but there were a lot of changes that needed to be addressed, and there still is a lot more. But we are very happy that this bill passed, the amendment passed. But we've been working hard to try to digest this 300-page amendment and get ready for January 1st. Anybody has any questions? Yes, sir.
Chief, some trespassers go in my backyard. That was the story you gave us way back when. You can't do anything. They're there. You're not citing anything. Now you're going to cite them.
Correct.
Okay, now what?
We cite the individual, the
For
offender.
individuals, do they have to leave?
They should leave.
If they don't leave,
Because they've been in violation of law, they've been issued a citation, okay? If they choose not to leave, the criminal activity is persisting. And then we will take them into custody because they refused
to leave.
to stop the activity.
Thank you.
That was the big change in the amendment.
Thank you.
Yes.
Very nice summary, Chief. Can you give us some examples of good changes out of Safety Act?
Well, that's probably one of the biggest ones.
Okay.
Body worn cameras, there's pages and pages. And so I tried to stay with what was discussed on the dais here
Fair enough.
by the mayor and the board. As Mr. Walter said earlier, the changes to the detainable offenses, I can tell you that, I can tell you what was added to that. As you know, that list was lean, and these are detainable offenses. But what was added was reckless homicide, involuntary manslaughter, residential burglary, child abduction, child endangerment, and aggravated battery, and there is more. But that just gives you an example. They're putting offenses back on at our request. And that's extremely important. As discussed earlier, January 1st is the no cash bail. It's a totally different bail system. What you will not have, what we thought we would have, and what the state's attorneys in Illinois thought was going to be the process under the old law before the change, is all those individuals in custody on what were determined to be non-detainable offenses would be released after a hearing leading up to January 1st and after January 1st. As Evan said, it was the purge. That is not the case. Anybody convicted and sent to jail or prison, mostly jail, under the old system will stay under that system. However, there are provisions that an attorney can petition the court and have the case reviewed. But the big thing is you're not going to have what State's Attorney Berlin and the Will County State's Attorney, between 300 to 500 individuals released from the jails because of the changes from the initial Safety Act. So there is, that's a big one. That's big. As you can see, reckless homicide, residential burglary, child abduction, that was taken off, and they were listed as non-detainable. So we still have concerns. I'm very concerned. We have to train our officers.
Yeah.
We have to train our officers. We had a sergeant's meeting last week, all our supervisors, and we're just trying to get our feet underneath of us to get ready for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And there's big changes. There are presumptions. For those non-detainable, there's a list of 17 to 18 presumptions that the officer has to determine if this person could be detained. There's literally flow charts that state attorneys are creating to make a decision on whether or not this person can be detained and brought out to the jail. So, huge changes. Huge changes. So still a lot of work to be done, but the good news is there's been significant improvement from the previous bill that was signed.
Questions or comments of the chief or Evan about the Safety Act revisions, amendments? I'm glad to hear that Springfield's listening to the chiefs.
Me too.
Glad to hear that.
Me too.
It's reassuring. Thank you. Okay, anything else from the board? Any announcements, communications, reports? No? At this point in the meeting, I just want to wish all of the residents of Burr Ridge, the businesses in Burr Ridge, the employees that work at those businesses, and all of the great people here in our village, a very Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, season's greetings, and a safe and Happy New Year to all of you. Could I please have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Motion by trustee Paveza, second by trustee Matalwit.
Sorry?
I'm sorry, who's the second?
I motioned.
Sorry, trustee Scapa, second by trustee Paveza. Roll call, please.
Trustee Skiappa?
Yes.
Trustee Paveza?
Yes.
Trustee Snyder? Trustee Matal?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Francis?
Yes. Thank you. This meeting is adjourned. Have a good evening.
Thank you.